The UConn Huskies are the champions of the women's basketball world. No, this is not a repeat episode. After 3,288 days, it has happened again. Lockdown Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and happy Sunday night welcome live from Tampa. I'm Howard Megdal of the Next and Locked On Women's Basketball, welcoming you to this special post-championship edition of the show. Delighted to be with you. Delighted I can share the wisdom of everyone I get to work with you as well. We thank you for making us your first listen every day. We have broken records. We were well over 300,000 listeners in March alone. Over 2.6 million of you watched us on Bracket Breakdown on Amazon Fire TV. Just an incredible time for women's basketball and all the attention that is being paid to it. It is, of course, not just me, as many of you who have seen it know. It is our incredible team covering this sport. Go to thenexthoops.com, support the work. $9 a month, $72 a year to pay these journalists to cover the sport the way we know it needs to be covered, thenexthoops.com. And over at Bracket Breakdown, we got to talk to T. Baker quite a bit. We're going to talk to T again tonight. T, that UConn team seems pretty good. Is that your biggest takeaway from what you saw of these 23-point victory tonight after, 34-point victory on Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, just a dominant performance in this weekend's Final Four. I think that the thing that has distinguished UConn this season is just so many weapons. Something they've been missing in the past several seasons has been their depth. But, you know, when Paige has been off, it's been Azzi. When Azzi's been off, it's been Sarah. You know, like there's just so many different weapons, so many different options, so many different lineups, and they just overwhelm their opponents.
Obviously, Paige needs some more seasoning. Only 17 points tonight. I assume she'll stay in school, right, and continue on back?
Yeah, she still needs to develop. We think we'll see her in stores next season.
It's amazing, right? Paige Bueckers, year 5 here, and she has said she's going forward with her professional career. She didn't need to have a dominant game for the Connecticut Huskies, not just to win, but to win by a lot. And one of the biggest parts of that was, of course, Azzi Fudd, who finished with 24 points, named Most Outstanding Player. Had the chance to talk to Azzi a little bit after the game, and she basically said that it was the game came to her, and she wasn't looking to force it. She wasn't looking to make a mark, but she did make a mark. 11 points is the most in one quarter by any UConn player in national championship history. They've had a couple of decent stars, right? I mean, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Brianna Stewart. These are pretty good players. So to be above that company kind of blows my mind. But the bigger thing is just, how do you stop all three? And is the simple answer that they couldn't?
I think they couldn't. I mean, I think that's what Dawn Staley said in her press conference, is that there was just too many weapons. It's hard to shut down one, and in the way that they were able to play so inside, outside, the high-low game, and when that's not working, you can pass it out to the corner three for Azzi Fudd or Ashlyn Shade. There's just so many different options for this team, and I think, speaking about Azzi, she's a player that came in with such potential and such hype to UConn, frankly, was the number one recruit, but we haven't been able to see her at her best because of injuries. And in this game, we saw her at her best, and it was really special.
I don't think people who didn't follow it closely necessarily understood how highly regarded Azzi was coming out of high school. When she came to Connecticut, when she announced that, it was like, oh, well, this thing is over.
Yep.
Yeah, Azzi and Paige are going to be on the same team for X number of years. They're going to win the titles. That they finally got the opportunity to do it. The fact that they've had to both overcome significant injuries just feels like a very big deal for two players who never, ever cheat the sport. Before I let you go and we get into more of the depth, I want to talk about Sarah Strong. Sarah Strong, the 24 points on 15 shots, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. She was not forcing the action. 3 blocks, 2 steals. She did everything. We did a bracket breakdown show a few minutes ago. Monique Billings said she could play in the WNBA now. Monique would know. She plays in the WNBA right now. T, what's the most shocking thing about Sarah Strong's, I guess, prodigy-like work?
I think that what surprises me about it is just her poise, her ability to never be rattled. I've watched them all season. I've never seen her be rattled, and especially in the biggest moments, it takes a really special player not to be rattled. And for her, you mentioned 3 blocks. One was a monster block, and I think that what has made her so special, and what's probably making Dawn Staley feel a little disappointed now, who also recruited Sarah Strong, is her consistency and just how talented she is, and how it's shown so early in her career. And she has three more years.
3 more years. I mean, that's the most incredible part about it. But yeah, truly, the Trinity came through. T. Baker, you've done such excellent work on the Big East Conference, on UConn all year. Make sure you're reading them at thenexthoops.com. Can't wait to read your story later tonight over there as well. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to transition now to Jenn Hatfield.
Thanks, Howard.
Yes, my pleasure. And Jenn Hatfield, who had the opportunity, of course, to cover the Ivy League for us this year. Jenn does a little bit of everything. Jenn is our managing editor. Jenn covers the Ivy League. Jenn covers the Washington Mystics, who are going to be very busy a week from now at the WNBA draft. But Jenn had the opportunity, and always, you always find the Ivy League story in anything. How is there an Ivy League story in the Connecticut Huskies?
I'm so glad you asked, Howard. Kaitlyn Chen played at Princeton for 3 seasons. Her freshman season was wiped out when the Ivy League canceled it during the COVID-19 pandemic. So she had an extra year of eligibility to use as a grad transfer this year, and she went to UConn. So 1 year at UConn, 1 national title, not a bad percentage.
Not at all. Now take me through what she has meant to this team, both from her perspective of being able to have this experience and from Gino Auriemma's perspective of having her on the team.
Yeah, she started from day one for them, can play point guard, can play off the ball. Gino Auriemma said this week he's trusted her since day one. He knows she's learned from one of his proteges in Carla Berube, and she came in with a lot of poise and confidence and was a communicator from day one and a leader, even on a team that has so many other superstars. He was really impressed. He said that could intimidate a lot of players, but it didn't faze her, and she just jumped right in. So she's been she's fit right into everything that they're doing. You could see her chemistry today with Sarah Strong, throwing lobs over the top. And she's been able to step up when they really need her. The Elite Eight scored 15 points, was huge for them in that game. So she's happy to facilitate when needed, but she can also call her own number.
I can't imagine Sarah Strong has any sort of Ivy League connection, does she?
Just a little one. Her mom is Allison Feaster, who is arguably the best player in Harvard history, engineered the infamous 16-1 upset in the 1998 NCAA Tournament over Stanford.
Fun little fact, we are also going to see the primary competition for Allison Feaster for best player in Harvard history, Harmony Turner, on a podcast coming up this week. She's been on the show before. We'll be on the show again. We got a chance to catch up with her during the All-Star game here in Tampa on Saturday afternoon. But Kaitlyn Chen, listen, you cover the Ivy League. You understand, and we know it is an elite league. Hashtag 3-bid Ivy came to pass this year. But it's a different stage. It's a different opportunity. So how surreal was it to see her up there on the podium celebrating with her Connecticut teammates, and just, what were kind of your biggest takeaways from that experience?
It was amazing. I got to see it up close and personal. I was on the court post game, and Carla Berube was there as a Princeton alum, so she was on the court with them. She shared a moment with Kaitlyn where she told her she was so proud of her and so happy that she came to UConn.
Wait. Carla, a Connecticut alum, now coaching at Princeton, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I say that backwards?
No, that's okay. Now, Princeton would love to claim her. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, but go
Sorry.
ahead. No, all good.
UConn alum won the 1995 national championship at UConn.
Yeah.
Coached Kaitlyn at Princeton. Said she was so proud of her, so glad she came to UConn and was able to win a national title. So now they're tied in number of rings, as someone pointed out to Kaitlyn in the post-game locker room.
I understand there was an interesting interaction between Kaitlyn and Azzi Fudd as well. Can you take me through that?
Yes, so they were both, they'd climbed up onto the stage and were awaiting the trophy presentation, and they're kind of standing off to the side. And they just start cracking up. They are having a grand old time. I mean, Kaitlyn's always smiling, but she was grinning ear to ear. They're laughing. They're kind of patting each other, like they're having a great time. So asked him about it after all the pomp and circumstance, and And Azzi said that so earlier in the season, after UConn had lost to Tennessee and beaten South Carolina, they were in the sauna together after a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaitlyn said, this is the Azzi I came to play with. This is the UConn I came to play for, like the South Carolina version, not the Tennessee version. So on the stage today, after the national championship game, Kaitlyn basically said, see, this is what I came to UConn for, to win and to play with you.
It's really been such a pleasure to be able to cover Kaitlyn Chen through the years. It's been an even bigger pleasure to read your coverage of her and so much of the Ivy League. Jenn Hatfield, the beating heart of the Next. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be back after we share this message with you, talking much more, including all about South Carolina. I'm Howard Megdal, and you're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, hey, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. There's all-in-one convenience, right? You go to one place, you're able to use Monarch, you can check your finances, even plan your long-term goals. And you can even manage money with your partner. It's smoother than ever. You track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Back here on Locked On Women's Basketball, I am Howard Megdal. I am joined with, of course, Rob Knox, who has written so many wonderful stories for us throughout the season over at the Next. Rob, you were on South Carolina duty this year, as you had been last year. Very different final night, I would imagine. Take me through what the scene was like in the locker room.
Well, clearly I wasn't the good luck charm this year, so that rubbed off. But no, I thought the locker room was subdued. The players spoke openly and candidly about everything. Obviously, not much chatter there in the locker room.
Yeah.
It took Raven Johnson a few minutes to come out and address the media. When the locker room opened, I would say about maybe a good 10 minutes or so, which is understandable and expected. And
Sure.
The players were, which you would expect, composed, mature, and very respectful, very professional, understanding that the media had a job to do as well, and they answered the questions. And I thought that and again, I thought the questions were fair for the most part in the locker room, and most of them were what you would expect about legacy and what are you proud of, and how blessed were you to play for South Carolina. Obviously, I'm finishing up my story as we speak. One of the things that I shared is that you can't. South Carolina won't be judged by one bad afternoon of basketball against an opponent playing at a high level.
You and I have talked about this throughout. It continues to blow my mind. So I keep going back to this stat. 3 programs in the history of women's college basketball have gone to 5 NCAA Final Fours in a row. UConn did it. Stanford did it. They had like a Tara Vanderveer, I think she's a pretty good coach, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the two, truly, Tara and Gino, the 2 winningest coaches in women's basketball history, and South Carolina's the 3rd, and they just did it. That is a really rarefied air. And just, I loved that Bree Hall, when she talked to us at the post-game press conference, she was disappointed, obviously, that she didn't win this, but she clearly understood it wasn't defined by it. When we talked to Dawn Staley, Dawn said, look, we just got beaten by a better team. Do you think, 2 parts to this, do you think South Carolina understands that ultimately if UConn did everything they were supposed to do, this wasn't going to be their year? And again, for South Carolina, how quickly do you think there is a rebound to just getting ready for next season?
I think that the first part of your question is I think most people would say, and this is no disrespect to anybody, that if both teams played their A+ game, UConn would probably have a little bit more to win the game because they could score a little bit more consistently, and they had players that could make tough shots.
Yeah, Dawn said as much after the game, which I thought was really interesting for her to say that.
Exactly, and I think we all knew that. I mean, South Carolina's offense throughout the season just wasn't consistent, right? They got a lot of stuff off their defense, and their offense wasn't necessarily as consistent as it needed to be. And obviously, South Carolina didn't play an 8+ game today, but at the same time, I mean, UConn had a lot to do with that. And you know, I looked up the field goal percentage defenses of the last 3 teams that they beat. You know, UConn was 5th, UCLA was 7th, and USC was 9th. And I'm sure UConn ended up shooting a high percentage against.
They did 30 for 62.
Yeah, against all those programs. So, which tells you just how efficient they were.
No doubt, no doubt. And I just, it's worth pointing out also, South Carolina did not have a go-to scorer. And we talked about this throughout. You know, when you look at the teams that have won national titles for Dawn, look, even the teams that get to the Final Four, there's an Asia Wilson. I mean, not just a go-to scorer, but program changer.
Right.
Aaliyah Boston is a program changer. There are talented players on this roster who I will cover in the WNBA, frankly, some of them within a couple of weeks. But there's no program changer. When Dawn said this the other day, that there's no one here that's going to start for a WNBA team, but there are players here who we know can play in the league, and we're going to get them ready for it. That really struck me as well. In some ways, doesn't this feel like a more impressive accomplishment that Dawn got this team all the way to the title game?
In some ways, it does, right? I mean, now granted, you know, let's level set too, right?
Right.
You know, she has 9 outstanding players, right, that could start for any program in the country.
No doubt.
That being said, and Gino said this in his press conference the other day too. He said, you know, when you come here, you're not whole, you're going to get beat. So obviously, he had 3. You know, he had the big 3. Usually on this level, you have a big 3. It's going to be a little bit more successful. But I think this is a very impressive coaching job by Dawn Staley. I mean, heck, they still won 35 games this year.
They did.
You know, they overcame 3 losses, and you know, a lot of people thought they were finished, and they showed a lot of heart, a lot of grit, a lot of class, and winning. And you know, winning's not always pretty. And you know, even though the regionals didn't look like the way people thought they should have looked, they still found a way to grit through those wins and get here.
Listen, we should all fail like Dawn Staley in the 2024-25 South Carolina Gamecocks. Last point that you made, I want to touch on is that Ashlyn Watkins. You want to talk about not being whole? She was supposed to be the starting center, the rim protector, the difference maker on this team. Injury cost her the season after 14 games. So South Carolina was not. Listen, Rob's going to have it all. Make sure you read his story at thenexthoops.com. Rob, grateful for all the work you are doing here and delighted that we get to continue to do it together. Rob Knox, thank you so much. Be back with Bella Munson talking about the South Carolina seniors just after this. I'm Howard Megdal, and this is Locked On Women's Basketball. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here. If you don't know what the NBA playoffs are, I'm here to tell you the National Basketball Association is a league for men to play professional basketball. Yes, it's true. Now men get the opportunity to play. We love that for them. Good for them, right? I mean, there's this period of time. The NCAA Tournament just ended. The WNBA doesn't start until the middle of May. So you need some basketball to tide you over. How great is this? Maybe your DVR of women's basketball doesn't have enough. You can go watch the NBA playoffs. And not only do you do that, FanDuel gives customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team, diving into player props, doesn't matter. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite team. And then after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay for a chance to win big. I know my wife is a big Philadelphia 76ers fan. I'm sure she'll get to watch them in the playoffs. And I'm being told everyone on that team is injured. Okay, so not the Sixers, but hopefully other teams. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. No, we're just freestyling it. I am joined here by Bella Munson. Bella, so Who is the Seattle NBA team, actually? Just out of curiosity.
Seattle NBA team? You mean the team that doesn't exist?
Oh,
To be
I
fair,
see.
I didn't know Ben
Yeah.
could play sports. That's brand new information to me. So
We're delighted to bring you this information as well. See, not just women's sports here. Well, Bella Munson, who does incredible work writing about women's soccer, women's basketball, you name it, and talked to the South Carolina seniors. This is a legacy that will not be forgotten soon. We talked about the 5 straight Final Fours, 4 of them from these seniors. Take me through sort of what the mood, the feeling was like, and who really stood out to you in and amid that group.
I mean, I think Bree Hall was the one who spoke the most. So she kind of sticks out in that way.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because she said she was really happy that she got to go up and do the press conference because she wasn't sad in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she's a competitor. She was disappointed. They did not want to lose. But at the same time, she was incredibly grateful for everything they had achieved, everything they had done, everything Dawn had taught her. So there's a lot of just gratitude among the seniors. They know that what they've been able to accomplish, what they've been able to experience is something that most college basketball players will never experience. Like they're lucky to get to one Final Four, let alone one every single year that they're playing.
It was so striking to me too. Bree obviously, and by the way, whoever did media training with Bree Hall is doing a really good job. She is WNBA ready on the podium as well. I know South Carolina is no stranger to this, but not a surprise. But Bree, who I'm looking forward to covering very much in the WNBA as well, for that, among other reasons, talked about she couldn't just name one moment with Dawn Staley, but also is somebody who couldn't name her primary memory with Dawn Staley. What she knew was, she said, I'm going to be able to talk to Dawn anytime. I'll text her because she was always there for me as well. How much, when you were talking to these seniors, did you feel like we got a sense of Dawn Staley, the person, and the way in which she builds these young women to take on the world, not just to win college basketball games?
I do first have to give a shout out to Rob because he was the one who went to talk to the seniors and then sent me the
Right.
recordings that he had.
Yes.
But I think something that is so incredible about Dawn is that she clearly creates professionals, right? She creates players who are ready to play within a system, are ready to give up any sort of personal goals or personal, you score 30, 40 a game in high school and then you go and you barely play at South Carolina. And she prepares players for that because that's what's going to happen when they get to the W, right? That's the kind of thing they need to be ready for. And she talked about, being thankful for the players themselves for allowing her to be herself, her unfiltered self. And, maybe saying things that might insult other people. And
wasn't that great? I know. I love that moment too. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
It's I think that, and because her point was that, someone, when they're professionals, is going to tell them those same things and they need to be ready to hear them.
Yeah.
And, Dawn is a person where you can tell that everything she does is from a place of genuine wanting them to succeed in life. She is not just trying to win championships. She is trying to help players make it to the pro level. And that is evident in everything she does and the way her players talk about her. Yeah. And I think that will really benefit all of them at the next level.
I mean, I have seen countless players go through Gino's program at UConn, Dawn's program at South Carolina. And yeah, they've had a lot of success at this level, but there is always an emphasis on where they're going and who they can be. I remember sitting with Dawn just ahead of Asia Wilson's senior year, and she was talking about, I need to make Asia more like Candace Parker. Not because that was better for South Carolina. South Carolina would have been better parking her in front of the rim and making sure that she maximized every single point for the Gamecocks. She wasn't in it for that. It was, Asia's the special player who I've won a national title with, and I need to do everything I can to get her ready for the pros. And I would say she's pretty well prepared.
I think she's doing okay.
She's done okay.
I think
she's in there as what does she have? 18 MVPs already?
Yeah, something like that. She's doing just fine.
Asia, I think, is going to make it. I think we're prepared to say it. But she does that. Dawn does that again and again with players and with people. It's why players are so loyal to her, why people come back. You see it with Gino as well. And again, you saw it even tonight as Gino was doing a post-game press conference press conference. He does 30 minutes with us at the podium. He comes down, he talks to people after. Gino, like Dawn, looked to grow the game. Diana Taurasi comes over, gives him a hug and a kiss. I love you. I'll see you later. That's 20 years since 2021 since Diana graduated from UConn. And that's what these figures are in the game. And I just want to close with this. These are people I am privileged to learn from when I cover them. These are people who have defined a growth era in women's basketball that will never be forgotten and will be critical to everything that comes that you and I are privileged to cover in the years ahead. And so just for the chance to do that and see the two of them with so much mutual respect for one another and all that they've done, go head to head. There's also this understanding from Gino and UConn that they're going to be back. Did you feel that for Dawn as well? Because to me, I feel like these two programs are at the same level now.
Oh yeah, I definitely Dawn and her players, as much as they're preparing for the pros, they also are constantly working towards a national championship.
That's right.
The way that is the expectation at UConn, that has become the expectation at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can have the kind of success they've had for 5-6 years in a row and not have that become the expectation.
Yes.
And I think if anything, we saw it when they won last year. It was sort of their, it was a loud noise.
That is loud,
It was sort of their revenge season, their comeback season. They were disappointed after losing the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back and were like, well, we're just going to go undefeated all the way to a national championship.
It's amazing.
And so now they have players who have experienced that pain and are ready to use it and come back stronger. Similar.
2 words, Joyce Edwards.
Yeah. Oh, she's fantastic. I think. I mean, her and even Mylasia Fulwiley and Tessa Johnson, there's still so much from them. You still have Chloe Kitts. You have so many fantastic players on that squad. And they have, they've done, obviously they brought Tahina Pau in through the transfer portal.
Remarkable.
She alluded to going back to the transfer portal and bringing in some more players that way. So, I'm sure they have great young players coming in, and we'll also just find some players who are older and ready to win a national championship right off the bat.
Some birdies are going to fly into this nest. Well, Bella, I could talk to you about South Carolina all day, but we're about to be loaded into a truck, I think, if we don't close out here. So, Bella Munson, amazing work all season long. Looking forward to your coverage on the Seattle Storm coming up as well. There is no off season when it comes to women's basketball. So that's all for Locked On Women's Basketball today. Assuming that I escape and don't get loaded onto a truck, I am Howard Megdal. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Missy Hydrich's going to take you through your Locked On Women's Basketball Monday. Have a wonderful week, everybody. I'll see you on Tuesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.